What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Should have liked and sub, and let's get into this. Yeah, it's having a 2024 experience here with Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's everything you thought they would do. If you point out the fact that in the Japanese samurai Assassin's Creed, you want to play as a Japanese male samurai, congratulations, you're a racist that just wants to play as a white dude, at least according to this revisionist history. And revisionist history is going to be a real big theme of this video. First, there's absolute pieces of garbage like this, Sadat the Gamer, Assassin's Creed Shadows Incel Edition, because they just think we want to play as a white dude. No one wants to play as a white man in this, but let's expose their racism. We've said it before. I hope you see it now. Believe people when they tell you who they are. They think Asian people are white adjacent and thus the same as a white person. So you're going to see here, the Japanese people are not happy about this. And of course, they're being called racist for not wanting to play as a black male. Cultural appropriation, which is a big thing when it's in one direction. No problem now. You're just a racist for not accepting it. And then, of course, the revisionist history in and of itself. And that is Yasuke was never an actual samurai, never owned property. We'll get into it. So, of course, it's leading to articles like this. I mean, shout out Park Place, but again, no one cares that it's not a white male. That being said, one of the senior writers, they want to make you known that they think there's too many of those anyway. But since they think that Asians are white adjacent, this sort of applies to that too. Either way, basically just saying, oh, you got enough white people out there. And this somehow applies to, so in your Japanese game in the 1500s, got to be the one example of an African man that of prominence that was in that region. And yeah, I'm not saying Yasuke didn't do feats of strength and work with Nobunaga, but nowhere near the cultural level of what they're doing. And I get it. I get it. It's an Assassin's Creed game. That's the other part. People saying it's it's revisionist history. Before we get to the reaction of the actual Japanese people, which if you think ours is spicy and why is there a black man in your Japanese Assassin's Creed game? Well, they're equally as spicy, but we have this post here from Vera Dark. Shout out. She goes, everyone trying to say that Assassin's Creed never cared about its history, never cared about any sort of fitting into history, which that was the whole point of Assassin's Creed, was that it did actually try to fit in its crazy Isu storyline into established history and established characters. And so while this lie is being promoted, the racist outrage towards Shadow's protagonist Yasuke has nothing to do with history. It does, actually. It has to do for once with what they always talk about, representation, right? In this case, Japanese representation. And it's really pretty sad when people go, oh, just go play just go play another game. Go play Ghost of Tsushima. Go play another game that's not even an Assassin's Creed if you want Japanese representation in a Japanese Assassin's Creed. And so, yeah, this is just from the original one. And now you can say the bullshit about, oh, they haven't cared for a while. I would argue they have, even if they've showcased more fantastical elements. The whole point was keeping history as accurate as possible while including all the fictional elements. The crossbow was originally included as a ranged weapon in Assassin's Creed. However, Ubisoft made the decision to remove it in order to make the game more challenging. Yeah, and then famously it was added back in during the Ezio trilogy. By the way, played all the Assassin's Creeds. Game is personal to me, so go fuck yourself to anyone. All the normies going to jump onto this one. I actually know what I'm talking about. I didn't have to check Wikipedia for Assassin's Creed lore. Can't say the same for a lot of people. They're going to be talking about these. Shout out amongst them Kotaku. So here's the lie. Here's the big lie being pushed, is that Yasuke was the first black samurai. This started a Wikipedia war, which I still don't think has been resolved. Here it is. Before we go on to the actual finality of before the dark times, we're going to go back to a blog in 2021 talking about Yasuke before all of this. But here's just some of the Japanese response. Up until now, the main characters have been the original local races and ethnic groups, but why did they become different races when it comes to Japan? Shout out. So all the people talking about, oh, all the Assassin's Creed protagonists have been white. It's like, what? First of all, Desmond, the original playable character, not white. First character is Altair Ibn La'ahad, not fucking white. Then Ezio Auditore da Firenze, not white. Okay, then you start getting into, oh, that's right, Connor Rahatahigan, however the hell you actually say his name, not white. Finally, when Black Flag, you get to Edward Kenway, and Haytham Kenway, but again, Connor's the grandson of there. But either way, sure, Welsh, Unity, they're French, Syndicate, sure, British, white, brother and sister. Origins, Bayek is Egyptian, and Syndicate, they're Greek, whether you choose Alexios or Alexandria, they're both Greek. And then okay, fine, Ivor is very Norse. And then if you go to Rogue, Shay McCormick, but like still the majority of those, more than half, were not white characters. And in this one, bro, no one's really, aside from the fact that she looks a little non-binary-ish, and Chat GPT has a problem distinguishing that the Niall or whatever the female shinobi is. That's fine. They just wanted a male protagonist, and to not see maybe the history twisted that much. But here we go. Yasuke, who is supposed to be a sword holder, enters the battlefield without permission. So Nobunaga-sama ends up holding a sword himself, which is ridiculous. These are just Japanese people's responses. For the first time, I understood what cultural appropriation was. Why do they go out of their way to use black people, even though it's set in Japan? If I wanted to use black people, they could just change the setting. But it's too mysterious. Here, a game where black people massacre Japanese people in the Sengoku period is a perfect example of Yubi. Is this what happens when political correctness is taken to the extreme? Again, this is not angry incels that she's not exposing herself, the female character, or that they want a white dude. This is everyday people. This is, you keep saying cultural, you see representation matters and that cultural appropriation is bad. Well, here you go. Here's 2 cases of it. And now you're shaming the people calling it out. And this is what I wanted to get to just to finish off here, because, man, this has been going on for a while. Clearly, Wikipedia and the Smithsonian already seem to be compromised with recent edits. But here we go. The bogus story of Yasuke and wokeness revisionist history from wayofthebushido.com, February 18th, 2021. You could tell under what this was probably brought to light on that summer of love, the same thing that made this decision, because we found out in the original Protagonist was a Japanese male before this was changed during the summer of love. Again, shout out George Floyd. Thanks. You really did something. Okay, all you Wakanda fans, in this post we are dealing with history only, no racial bias, no fantasy, wokeness, or revisionist nonsense, just the facts. We will begin with the fact that Yasuke was a real person. He did exist, he was of African descent, and he was put into the service of Oda Nobunaga. This is fact. This is not disputed. What is disputed are all the revisionist stories of Yasuke as a great warrior, as having been awarded samurai status and earning respect of the Japanese people and other daimyo that he encountered in the service of Oda. This is not fact. And up until a couple of days ago, the Wikipedia stated as much before they were systematically changed and then an update with the equivalent of turning the light switch on and on or opening and closing the window on an airplane, but on Wikipedia with actual history. And this is from the same group of the I don't care what they tell you in school, Cleopatra was black crowd. Romantic stories of the famed Black Samurai are nothing more than fables, no more than the real futuristic comic book land of Wakanda. Recent books by authors such as Thomas Lockley provide a plethora of speculation provided as fact, typically referencing historical documents and then interpreting them in a way to fit the narrative that sells books. However, we won't go far into the motivations of authors and commercialization of romantic stories. These have their purpose, and remaining true to the historical records is rarely one of them. Here is a high-level overview based upon known recorded facts. Here's what we know before corruption set in and revisionist history set in. Yasuke arrived in Japan in 1579 in service of the Italian Jesuit missionary Alejandro Valignano, Jesus, sorry, it's late, who have been appointed the visitor inspector of the Jesuit missionaries in the Indies and East Africa, South and East Asia. He accompanied Valignano when the later came to Kyoto area in March 1581. When Yasuke was presented to Oda Nobunaga, the Japanese daimyo thought that his skin must have been colored with black ink. And I've heard these stories many before. They made him bathe. He then went on to do many feats of strength. He said when Nobunaga realized that the African skin was indeed black, he took an interest in him. Some say that Yasuke could speak or was taught Japanese, and it is stated that Nobunaga enjoyed talking with him. However, it is more likely that the Jesuit missionary translated for them in order to control the dialogue, as they were not the ones to miss an opportunity to interact with Nobunaga in order to advance their mission. Reportedly, Nobunaga's son, Nobunaga gave him reportedly Nobunaga's nephew gave him a sum of money at his first meeting for his travels, and on the 14th of May, Yasuke departed for a further province. Again, nowhere was it ever noted that he was given a fiefdom or that he was actually a samurai in full title. Nobunaga had a propensity for the unique, and he was particularly interested in all things foreign. Clearly, he was fascinated by Yasuke, and this was documented to be the chagrin of many of his top generals, who is reported to have been disgusted by the sight of Yasuke and saw him as nothing more than a wild beast. Racism. See, there you go. Be upset at that. After the Battle of Tenmoku-san, Nobunaga led his forces, including Yasuke, and inspected the former territory of the Takeda clan. So people make the assumption that Yasuke actually fought in the battle and that he donned samurai armor and fought valiantly as a samurai hero. Fact check. And this is what was referenced by the Japanese commenter in one of the earlier things. A sword bearer stays behind with the general camp near to the Lord. They don't go on the battlefield, and there is absolutely positively no record of Yasuke fighting in any battle. There is also no record of Yasuke receiving martial arts training or the use of a Japanese sword, either when in service of Nobunaga or years prior. Look, you can do further research on your own. Again, this is from awayofbushido.com. This is from 2021, well before the fix was really set in. So again, I urge you to do your own research. But the main point to take away from this video, if you take away anything, is that no, people are not upset of the fact that it's a black, or rather that it's not a white protagonist. It's simply that, and I would argue they wouldn't even be upset if Yasuke was a prominent figure in it. But the fact that he is in your Assassin's Creed game, he is your main male Assassin's Creed instead of just a figure you interact with, because you interact with historical figures all the time all the time in Assassin's Creed, Napoleon, things like that. And it's fine. They're woven, their real history and real people are woven into the fictional narrative. That's how that shit works if you're ever a good writer. The more fantastical things you're asking people to believe, like ancient beings that created humanity and have technology that's still around that can control humans, when you ask people to believe that, you have to root it in real historical truth, real historical characters. That is what Assassin's Creed used to do. But like every other gaming studio, Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, all of that, the people writing it and in charge are not the people that got it to where it was. They're not the people that made it popular. All those people are gone, and now it's just a skin suit of what Assassin's Creed used to be. And so don't buy their lies. People just wanted a Japanese protagonist, male protagonist in their Japanese game, not a black male protagonist of dubious historical standing, and certainly not, according to any actual expert, a samurai. So let me know what you think of this. Make sure to like, share, and sub. If you have done that, thank you. If you're going to do that, thank you, because this is going to be a fight, and I'm here for it. I'll be on that hill. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Boy, when you understand that one, it's not a license to do anything.
Well, bye.